And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. Tonight, your hosts are Cody and Jordan.
Hello.
So it's been a pretty exciting week.
I'm excited.
We got a few things on the docket here. We got Trump versus the Squad. We got an Antifa terror attack. And then the House passes a federal minimum wage of $15. So we'll kind of talk about some of the implications of that and if it's actually going to work.
Well, all right. You want to start with AOC? This is sort of the fun story.
Yeah, let's start with the big story, the headliner, Trump versus the Squad. So if you don't know who the Squad is, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, it's Ilhan Omar, AOC, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashida Tlaib. That's it.
That's right.
And the only two that anyone cares about are Elon and AOC. Let's be real. The other two are just kind of fucking there.
Well, Rashida Tlaib has said some stuff. Ben Shapiro refers to them as like the Beatles, and who is it?
I think Ayanna Pressley is the one he calls the Ringo Starr.
Yeah, that's it. Ayanna Pressley is the Ringo Starr of the Beatles, but
I think they're both fucking Ringo Starr. Like
she said,
nobody cares about either of them. Yes, I know that both of them have said shit, but anytime Elon or AOC says something, everyone cares. When the other two say something, like, maybe they care, but usually only if AOC or Elon's attached to it.
Well, they're the John and who's the other? Paul of the group. Those two.
Yeah, kind of they are. But anyway, notwithstanding which Beatle the members of the Squad are.
Right, exactly.
the important stuff. AOC Squad refers to Trump as occupant of White House. Oh, because he's not my president. Do you get it?
Oh, I just got that.
Oh my god, so dumb. Condemns racist remarks. Okay. As Trump fires back.
So the whole thing started with AOC and Nancy Pelosi kind of like duking it out, and then Trump was like, nope, this is my reality TV show. I want to come in here and drop some bombs.
How dare the cameras not be on me? What the fuck?
Right. He has to stop his political opponents from knifing each other, and goes on to Twitter, which he's known to do, and says some stuff. Some guy said something. So the tweets, let's talk about the tweets first, because I want to get your opinion on it, and then I'll give you mine. Okay. But he tweeted something like, go back to where you come from, sort of.
Yeah, I'm sort of split on them, honestly. Because on the one hand, like, I understand if it was like a strategy, I understand where he's coming from. Like, because don't get me wrong, this has been like the perfect storm of bullshit in his favor. On the other hand, like, go back to your country is like an
40 chess.
Yeah, like, go back to your country is an old American racist dog whistle for get the fuck out, brown people. Like, would it be racist if I said it to a Polish person? No. Would I ever, like, who talks that way to Polish people?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Oh, I agree.
Like, I understand that Muslim's not a race, but I don't think he even would have gone there if she wasn't brown. Because nobody goes there if they're not brown. Like, they just don't. It's not something that comes up. Yeah.
Would he have said this to, like, Nancy Pelosi or Pocahontas?
Right, like if the entire Squad was a bunch of, I don't know, Lithuanians, right?
They were all Beto.
Right, all of them were fucking Beto O'Rourke 1 through 4. I don't think he would have said the same thing. So, I don't think it's strictly racist, but it's clearly, like, I don't think the man is so stupid that he's never heard that phrase before. The man grew up in America. He knows what that phrase means. So I don't like
Right.
it, but I can't deny the political genius if he did that on purpose.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I think politically, it was a great move. I don't want to say great. Well,
It had its
politically, it
upsides and
worked out for
downsides.
him. But morally, I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? This is like, to me,
Yeah.
this is one of the worst things that he's done. Like, because some of the other stuff you can kind of be like, well, I don't know. Like,
Yeah, at first I was
and
okay, so at first I was sort of on the side of like, well, it's not strictly racist, but then I like got to see his rally where they had a whole bunch of like this whole crowd cheering send her back, and it's like, guys, you
right,
can't. She's not an illegal immigrant. She came here legally, she went through the system, she did all the right things. She is an American. There is no sending her back. There's nowhere to send her back to. She's American at this point. Like,
right, exactly.
I don't know. That's sort of what sort of swayed me towards the whole, like, all right, maybe this is going a little bit far because this is the sort of shit I expect to see from, like, Black Lives Matter or Antifa. So it's a little
Right.
disturbing to see it happening on the other side, too. Because that's, like, it doesn't really begin to escalate until both sides agree the other guy is evil. Like, once both sides agree to that premise, now we're in trouble.
Well, and Trump's tried to walk it back a little bit too, which he should. Like,
Yeah,
and people were saying he should have stepped in when the crowd started chanting. Because yeah, I'm with you. When the crowd started chanting that, like, I didn't really think too much because I watched the rally or I listened to the rally.
sure.
I didn't really watch it. Um, and they chanted that like in the moment. I just kind of thought it was. I didn't really hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
And then, I just thought, oh, the crowd's chanting. That's kind of funny because that shit is funny sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do
I
think,
wonder if Trump even knew how to respond to that because I mean he did say like because his comment said oh I moved on quickly and it's like I mean not really but I guess
right.
it's not like he was sitting there going yeah we're gonna send her back gonna build the wall throw her over it like he didn't say that so
Right. Like he needs to put some distance between himself and this. I don't think Trump himself is as I don't think he's racist, generally speaking. Does he say things that can be construed as racist? Yeah, probably sometimes, but I don't think the man himself is actually racist. I think the chief thing that Trump thinks about when he's interacting with another person is if they like him or not.
yeah typically
Like he's super narcissistic, I
yeah I
guess.
don't think I've and this is something that came up from someone else but I don't think I've ever seen the man like actually try to calm down the crowd he likes the crowd getting all amped up even if they're saying weird shit
Well,
um
it reminds me of WWE.
yeah
Where like, the crowd starts chanting and then like the Hulk like hulks up and the guy keeps hitting him and it just makes him stronger. And
Mhm.
so it just kind of reminds me of that. I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid and a teenager and stuff, and it just has that feel to it.
Sure. But I think notating that I do think that the remarks might not be racist, but like he's not stupid. He knows what that phrase means. So
Well, there's also a fine line between if you don't like it, you can leave and go back.
actually, you know what? This is the same criticism I would give for Ilan Omar because she does something very similar a lot of the times. She says something that has certain implications, but it's not really saying it. Like I'm not like Elon Omar comes out all the time and says I'm not saying Jews have dual loyalty. I'm just saying that they prefer Israel to America. That's all I'm saying.
They've hypnotized the
They've
world with their
hypnotized the
money.
world. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. Like, and it's like this is the way that Tim Pool describes it as like crop dusting. I think this was Trump like crop dusting a little bit of yeah, maybe racism at the very least, like xenophobia, but yeah, bordering definitely into a little bit of racism. So no, that's like this was one of those things where I'm like I don't like that. Um,
Yeah,
but like if we can both agree that it was at the very least xenophobic and maybe a little racist, then I
yeah, I
think
would agree to that. I think we both agree that it was not good.
No, like maybe politically genius, but I don't think that he necessarily
Well, yeah,
needed to go this far to get the same effect. Although I'm not sure he expected this to work out quite as well as it did. Because I mean, the
well, yeah,
number of variables that had to go, the number of things that had to all happen for this to work out as well as it did. I honestly think the only thing he was actually trying to do, because I don't think he really cares about the Epstein scandal, honestly, because the man doesn't give a shit about scandals. Like he fucking
right.
he like the man spins
Teflon Don.
he spins scandals into gold. The man loves being in a scandal because it lets him do whatever he wants. Because everyone talks about that like rabid dogs, just like his tweets, right? And then it distracts from the other things because something important to know about what's happened in the past week is that Trump basically got rid of asylum for pretty much anyone that's not Mexican. Um, which is really or Canadian or European or like someone that can get a direct flight to the United States, basically. Um, yeah, that it's interesting. Like I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because it is a little bit weird that people go through all of these like third party countries to get here and then claim asylum here, even though they're already safe. So from like a U.S. policy thing, I think that makes sense. But the ACLU is already suing him because they pay more attention than most to actual politics. So
Yeah.
good for them for at least paying attention. I think that it's actually a good policy. It definitely keeps people from coming here trying to abuse the rules, and now they're wandering through the desert for hundreds of miles. So that's not good. But yeah, I honestly think this whole thing was a giant smokescreen for him taking some pretty substantial executive action. Like that's a big thing to do just with the stroke of a pen.
Well, yeah, that's one of the criticisms that I have of the media is that they're so biased and they're so hyper focused on every little thing that Trump does when if and when he does something, you know, major or even something that I wouldn't agree with or something that Republicans probably wouldn't agree with, they completely ignore it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just goes under the radar and
Well, they need perpetual red meat because they need something that is a hot button issue that people care about because it drives ratings. If he does two things at the same time that do that, they have to pick one. Is what it seems like, and that to me this reveals a lot of the cynical nature of the media because I don't think that the media is unaware that he's done this. I think they just care. I think that they think his tweets will drive more traffic because it's hate bait. Him cutting off asylum, I mean, it's not good, but it's not him like crop dusting racism, right?
right, yeah, like
Actually, no, I take that back. I actually do like I do like the policy because I think it like simplifies things both for us and it prevents a lot of um abuse of the system, basically. So, yeah, I like the policy. I don't think that he should be using racist tweets to smokescreen it. Um, but I mean,
well the
since
whole
yeah, I mean, like I get it.
it feels like if it feels like his end goal was to get the Democratic Party to embrace or come to the aid, kind of like put the squad front and center,
Mm-hmm.
because he knows that the American people do not like this. They
True.
don't like even there. I think I read like an opinion piece in like the New York Times or something, the
Mm-hmm.
failing New York Times. It was shared by Jordan Peterson, so I read it,
Oh, the one where
and
they
it
said
was
that Trump's about to win again.
yeah, it was Trump's going to win again, and it was some guy saying, "I watched the debates, and I don't want any of this stuff. These people are insane, and they're the ones that it looks like they're going to win the nomination." And the
Mm-hmm.
media wants these people, but the Democratic base doesn't, and so you either vote for a rabid socialist or Donald Trump, or just don't vote.
Yeah, it's basically either the socialist or just get the fuck out. Is the way it feels. Honestly, that's my problem. Is that Like I have disagreements with both Tulsi and Yang, and like honestly, if it came down to a three-way run between Yang, Tulsi, and Marianne Williamson, I'd be pretty happy actually.
Right?
That
Like
wouldn't be so bad.
those three people, if they became the nominee, well, I probably wouldn't vote for them, but
Or even Joe Biden. Like,
I wouldn't be, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried, I guess.
yeah, I don't think like if Joe Biden becomes president, I don't think that we're going down in a ball of flames. Um, Same thing for Tulsi and Yang. Marianne Williamson, I'm less confident that she can run the country, but I kind of just like seeing her on the stage. So,
Well, yeah, to me, she wouldn't really be. To me, it feels like she probably wouldn't be running things. It would be her administration running things, and she would just be like the feel good hippie chick who's just like, oh, we need to love each other and da 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 da. I don't.
she'd probably actually be good for the American culture, but yeah.
Well, yeah, like I don't know if she would be able to exercise the power very well, which,
Would
in
that
my
be so
opinion, is a
bad?
good thing.
Yeah, I was like, would that be
No,
so bad?
that would be great.
Um, yeah, and I'm like, I got to admit, the because I didn't even because the smoke screen is one thing, but you're right to point out the whole thing started with AOC and the Squad and Nancy Pelosi. Because yeah, I did identify the Democrat Party with the Squad because now Pelosi, because this is something that I think Trump has figured out about Pelosi. If he attacks other Democrats, Mama Pelosi comes in behind like fucking Mama Bear and starts mauling people. That's what Pelosi does. The Democratic Party is Pelosi's baby, and she goes out of her way to take care of that. But it also means that Trump can basically tie Pelosi to whoever the fuck he wants to.
Well, and it's not even, it's the Democratic Party itself. They're so tied themselves so much to this anti-Trump thing
Mm-hmm.
that if Trump attacks somebody, they've got to rush to their defense or they've
Also
got to
true.
be on the other side. So
But you'll notice
he's
it's
like,
not all of the Democrats. Pelosi specifically is one of the ones that does this. But other Democrats,
well, yeah,
like that,
she's in leadership though.
exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Because Pelosi is such a prominent member of the Democratic Party and a longtime face of the. Because when you think the Democrats, there's a few people you think of. There's Joe Biden. There's Obama. There is now AOC. There's oh fucking what's his name? I forgot one.
Chuck Schumer.
Chuck Schumer. Yeah. There's one I'm forgetting though. Whatever. Point is, she's one of the main faces of the Democratic Party. So if he can actively tie her and her normal politics, which is also tied to other politicians like Joe Biden, to AOC, suddenly the whole like if AOC and Nancy Pelosi are tied together, that's the whole Democratic Party. That's both wings tied up for the American people to look at and say these people are on the same side. AOC's fucking nuts. Therefore, the Democrats are nuts.
Well, the media are going to cover whatever AOC and the Squad say because it's so bonkers that I guess it
Yeah,
sells papers, you know?
yeah, pretty
So
much.
they're going to cover those people. And then if Trump ties Pelosi to them and shows them embracing, then the Democratic Party's face, he just gave the Democratic Party their face. Like, it's so crazy how
Easy it was.
well, he can just manipulate them so easily because they have, I keep saying they have so much hate, but like, it's true. They have such Trump derangement syndrome that he understands that and he knows how to manipulate it and he's a master of it.
I don't even think that it's. I don't think it's that he's doing something that's all that special. Because at this point, if he hasn't realized how much power his tweets have, then the man's an idiot. Like, but I don't think he is. I think it's. I don't think it's necessarily that what he's doing is all that amazing. It's that the fucking media has put themselves in a position where they're so manipulating them is so straightforward. It doesn't even take a mastermind to do this. It's just
Right.
everything is fucking rage bait. And when everything is rage bait and you know what the key hot button issues are, if you say fucking jump, the media jumps. And then you can do whatever the fuck you want. Because he can make the media jump at the drop of a hat.
Well, right.
All you have to know is the buzzwords. That's all you have to know. And you've already
If you
won.
if you can make, I guess, if you can make your political opponents do certain things, then I guess you know your enemy. You
Mm-hmm.
just need to know thyself, and then victory will come.
Honestly, the interesting part is like there's three aspects to this. There's the smoke screen. There's tying, Nancy Pelosi to the squad for 2020, which is bad for the Democrats because now it's all of them that are associated with this through Nancy Pelosi, not necessarily through AOC. And because Nancy Pelosi was just fighting the squad, now she has to defend them. Now you've got the Democrats going, wait, which direction are we going? And whereas the Democrats up to this point had a bit of momentum going, yeah, fuck Trump, here's our policies, here's our shit. Like, we're going to 2020 strong, we're going to take out the current president, fuck the racist in chief. Like, it was all pretty coordinated. And now the entire fucking Democratic Party looks like they're in disarray. Nobody from the outside can tell what's going on. It just looks like a massive ball of chaos because you know that as long as he keeps attacking AOC, Pelosi is going to keep defending her. But AOC is going to keep attacking Pelosi too. So it just looks like everybody's attacking everybody except the Republicans.
Well, right, yeah, and there's so many candidates running for president.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the Democratic Party currently is fractured. Like, they do the polls
massively.
They do polls and say, oh, just about every candidate will beat Trump. Well, yeah,
okay.
I mean, that doesn't tell you much. Like, it's something that I've seen firsthand, that when you have multiple people in a primary, that you will always get some people, if their candidate they backed in the primary doesn't win the nominee, that they just won't vote because they're so upset.
Oh no, I've already I figured out a long time ago that, especially because of the Bernie or bust people, this is something that if you weren't paying attention to the Democratic side as strongly last time, that you may or may not know, there are a lot of people in the Democratic base that are very pissed off that Bernie got cheated out of the nomination last time. Because he did. That's just there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Screwed over hard, man.
He got fucked. The man, despite getting fucked that hard, nearly beat Hillary Clinton. That should have been their sign that she is not the candidate. I don't care who you fucking put in there from top down, Hillary Clinton's not the guy. She nearly got beaten by some no-name socialist because he came out there and said, feel the burn and we're going to give you free college. Really? That's all it takes to beat her? Seriously? Don't get me wrong.
Apparently not. You need a little more than that.
Yeah, seriously. But, yeah, this time, and there are basically two candidates that this is happening for majorly, is Yang, because there's a lot of people that are on the lookout, and Bernie, where there's a ton of people in the Democratic base that are basically threatening the Democratic Party and saying, look, if you don't give us Bernie this time, we're voting for Trump. And if you don't like it, you better put Bernie in place. Because fuck you for last time. The Democrats have already lost, in my opinion. If 20% of Bernie's voters, and I don't think all of them are actually going to do it. There's a lot of people that say they're going to do it and then don't. But
it's just I'm going to leave the country if Trump gets elected.
Right, but
we're all still fucking here.
Well, let's say 5% go to Trump. That's not insignificant. Not to mention it's happening for multiple candidates. It's happening for Bernie strongly, Yang a little bit, Biden a little bit. And it's basically those three that occupy most of the people that are making these kinds of threats. But
especially depending on what states those people live in, or districts and everything.
True facts. But with the Democratic base so strongly fractured inside the actual voting base, it's not even the Democrats, it's the voting base that can't decide who they want. Because they can't decide if they want basically the three candidates that actually represent the party right now, in my opinion: Yang, Bernie, Biden. Kamala Harris, okay, she's going to do well for now. I really think that the longer people get to see Kamala, the less they're going to like her. I think the more that they see people like Yang and Tulsi, the more they're going to like them. Because they're just good candidates. They're actually sensible.
Well, I mean,
I'm hoping
they're sensible to us.
I'm hoping
they're sensible Democrats to us.
Well, I mean, the Democrats are actually fairly moderate. The Democratic base, the voting base, the general Democratic voting base for the general election is moderate. They are like they lean
Well, I think
progressive a little bit, but
most of the American voting base is
sure,
moderate.
yeah, that's true. But just speaking about about the Democrats for a moment, um, those people are going to see Yang and Gabbard as like actual candidates, whereas they're going to see Kamala coming out and like swinging as hard left as she can, going, fuck white people, using the race card constantly, like going for like hard socialism, basically Bernie light. Like that's really what it is. It's Bernie light, which raises the question of why don't I just vote for Bernie if you're Bernie light? You know?
Well, intersectionality and everything.
But most Democrats don't care about that. That's the thing. Like I honestly don't.
Oh yeah.
Like
It's the
that's
media
the
that cares
yeah.
about that, though.
The
so
Democrat,
they'll give her more coverage, and then name recognition is a powerful thing.
True, but I'm saying if Kamala Harris wins the primary, she pretty much can't win the general. Like where she can't, she can't pivot, right? Like she's gone too far to one side, and her record supports going too far to one side. But then you also have the problem of her being a prosecutor and having to go through this long ruling process where Trump is going to be throwing haymakers the instant she gets on the stage. Like,
well, and then you have like the debate that she was in. Like, to me, all Trump needs to do is just show clips from that. Show her raising her hand when they say, "Oh, do we want to give health care to illegal immigrants?"
Yeah, but you could do that to any of the Democrats. They all raise their hand.
Well, yeah, they all raise their freaking hands. Like, are you serious, guys? Come on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Yang because I thought he had a better understanding of the border than that. But,
Well, it's just like, I don't think even the Democratic base is interested in that right now.
No, I don't.
If it were, do you support giving more money to schools and stuff like that? Like, yeah, sure. They would be all for that. Like, raise your hands. That will look good to the Democratic base. But spending money, giving health care to just anybody who can make it across that border, that's just like, that's not being a good neighbor. That's
feel free, California. Go for it.
That's feeding the rats.
Yeah.
Not that illegal immigrants are rats, but like if you put food out, you're like, oh, I'm going to feed these cats that are running around. Like raccoons come and rats and all sorts of different animals come and eat that food. Like you're not doing the good you think you're doing. You're bringing rodents to your neighbor.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not referring to immigrants as rodents. It's just an analogy.
How about feeding the cats? How about that?
Right. Well, the cats are great because they eat the rats. So if you can get some cats to come, cool. But
we are not even going to explore who the rats are in this analogy. We're just going to gloss over that and move on.
Well, it's probably one of my dogs found a dead rat today. So
oh, did
he? Yeah, he just came walking out with it in his mouth, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you got?" Oh, that's not a toy. That's like a real rat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot that they put impeachment on the House floor, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, they put up impeachment and it failed.
Shocking. Fucking shocking.
Like the Democrats, not even the Democrats voted for it.
Well, yeah, because they're not suicidal. I mean, can you imagine what would happen if they actually impeached him? Like, they think Trump is bad?
We would get Mike Pence.
Yeah, like, fucking Trump legitimately is like a neocon. He's just fucking, he showed up, he fucking found a base that liked what he was saying, and was like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm conservative? Sure. Whatever, guys, that makes you happy, right? So, yeah, he's like a conservative light. I don't believe that the president's actually all that conservative. He's been a Democrat for decades. He's a New York Democrat. He always has been. He probably still is. I don't think that changed in the past 2 years. I just don't. But Mike Pence is. Like, you want to see a conservative administration?
He is.
You want to see a conservative fucking administration? Impeach Trump. Go for it, guys.
And he's very careful too. Mm-hmm. So if you want to, because the Democrats' idea is impeach and keep impeaching until we get communism, I guess.
Like
I don't
Nancy
know.
Pelosi? Like,
well, she's third in line
she
for the
is.
presidency.
She is. But like, what are
So-
you going to impeach Pence on? Like,
Right. Like, he doesn't even eat a meal with a woman alone.
yeah,
Like,
literally,
you're not going to Me Too his ass or nothing.
the man, as far as I can tell, if they haven't found anything on Pence up to this point, there's nothing to find. Because I guarantee you they looked. They've combed through the entire fucking cabinet and the presidency. Like, it's all there.
The only thing I can think of that they could smear him with is like the whole sort of pray the gay away thing, I guess.
I mean, I guess, but like, that would be like a fucking blip.
It's like so minor. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, that was bad. I've changed my mind. And it's like, okay, scandal over. Like, what else you got?
Yeah, it would literally be fucking, you impeach Trump, Pence becomes president, Pence runs for next time, gets Trump's endorsement, and becomes president again. Congratulations, you actually made the fucking government more conservative. Also, he doesn't have any restrictions as far as like term limits in that particular case, because technically he wasn't elected the first time. So 2020 would actually be his first election.
There is they actually have rules on that.
Do they?
So if you serve, I think it's like 3/4 of the term or something like that, then that counts as a term. Well, yeah, sure, there's laws around it and everything.
I'm sure, but like, I don't think that if he fucking served for like a year and a half, I don't think those laws would come into effect. I don't think so.
If it was a year and a half, that's not 3/4 of a 4-year term.
No, he would literally have to serve for 3 years for that to happen.
Right. They have defined it in the law. I just don't know what it is.
I'd have to. I'll check later, but
because
I
term
don't
limits,
think so.
We haven't always had term limits on the presidency.
True. Oh, that's wrong.
So Trump did his tweets. We kind of talked about that. Then the squad did a press conference that was exactly what Trump wanted them to do.
Okay, can I just point out that fucking, hold on, I've got a quote here. This is a president who has said grab women by the pussy. No, he didn't. That would be him telling people to do that. Wrong.
Well, yeah,
Omar, wrong. Incorrect.
They misquote him all the time.
That's true.
I was talking with my wife about this because she was experiencing this sort of thing where somebody posts on Facebook like, oh, I called and nobody answered and no one's called me back, and they're upset, and it's like, oh my God, that's terrible, like nobody calls you back. But then my wife went and looked and she called like an hour ago. And it's like, well, wait 24 hours before you go on Facebook slamming somebody for not doing something. So this is the same sort of thing where it's like, well, he said that. Well, technically, yes, those words were said, but you're missing the context. You're missing the whole story here.
Fucking, this is a president who has called black athletes sons of bitches. Fucking, okay, is it not okay?
Just the one.
Like, yes, and it's like, okay, unless he was saying it because he's black, what's your fucking point? Like, can you not criticize a black person? This is a president who has called people from black and brown countries shitholes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a bad one. But,
well, no, I like this statement here from her. What the hell is a black and brown country? And
it's a fair question.
If countries have specific colors to them, what color is America? Is it a white country? Because this sounds like an alt-right talking point.
Yeah.
And yes, that was a bit of a, step in it moment for Trump, I think, but
yeah, I don't think he needs to.
I didn't think it was
shitholes.
that bad.
Like, it wasn't specifically racist, but like, that's one where that one I wouldn't even necessarily call crop dusting. That was more just like, okay, just don't call other countries shitholes. Like, even if they are shitholes, don't call them shitholes.
I was gonna say, it's just brutally honest.
Like, just don't call other countries shitholes. Like, isn't just.
Well, yeah, as the president of the United States is probably not a good thing for diplomatic relations.
Right, like, it's just a bad idea.
Shitholes.
Yeah.
You might need to do some dealing with those countries at some point.
Yeah, like I don't think any of the countries that he's calling shitholes are looking at the United States like, yeah, let me just. I love the idea of working with you. You guys are great. So it's just it's not helpful, and it just gives dishonest people easy lines of attack. So yeah, he's
well. Then after the press conference, I don't know if it's after or whatever, but Ayanna Pressley was at Netroots Nation, and then I'm gonna read a quote. I don't know if it's in this story, but I have the story from Real Clear Politics. But she said, "I don't want to bring a chair to an old table. This is the time to shake the table. This is the time to redefine that table. Because if you're going to come to this table, all of you who have aspirations of running for office, if you're not prepared to come to that table and represent that voice, don't come, because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. If you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up, because we need you to represent that voice." Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
I don't elect. I don't think about people's skin color or religion or sexuality this much.
You mean you don't elect someone based on ticked boxes? That's so weird. I thought that was the only important thing.
Like, God, I'm such a bigot. Definitely clown world, man. We live in the upside down.
Like, did we just not learn from Obama that just being black doesn't mean that they're actually going to help the black community?
Right.
Seriously.
Just being black isn't good enough.
Yeah, it's not how, like, you might actually have to do something real weird and actually figure out what they think. I know. We just, no one please don't shoot me. Like, I know. It's a crazy idea.
Well, what is
fucking psychotic?
Like, we don't need any more brown faces. Like, because, like, we talked about the concept of person first language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you put the person before the descriptor, so it's like a kid with autism, not an autistic kid. And it's supposed to be more, I guess, person focused as opposed to characteristic focused. So
I get the argument. I've always found it a little bit nitpicky, but I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's not that big of a change, so whatever. I'll do it. But
I'm not like, oh my God, the communists are coming.
Yeah.
But this feels like we don't need like brown faces. Like, the faces are brown. Like, brown is what's important here to them. It's the brownness of their face and the brownness of their voice. Like, all brown people don't have the same voice.
Yeah, it's the brownness of their fucking opinion.
What the fuck are brown people?
It's like, not even the brownness of it's like the brownness of their opinion, but only if they're also brown.
Well, like what the brown people, like Hispanics? Are they Muslims?
Dude, who knows?
What the fuck is brown people?
Everyone knows there's no fucking rules here.
I am a brown person.
Did you fucking see like the Elon Omar thing where she's like, whenever a fucking a white terrorist does something, I don't go to my white people and say, you need to answer for this. It's like, yeah, because fucking Muslim isn't a color. It's an ideology.
Right.
If an alt-right person does something crazy, it wouldn't be that weird for you to go to the rest of them and say, what the fuck? When the Westboro Baptist Church does something crazy, it's not that weird to go to them and say, what the fuck?
You go to them and you say, is this a part of your ideology?
Yeah.
And they go, no, that's a perversion. We don't support that shit. Fuck those guys. And you go, okay, cool.
Yeah. That should be it. That's all you gotta do.
Like, cool, you want to go get a beer? No, it's against my ideology. Terrorist. That's just a joke.
How dare you not like beer?
Yeah, I actually don't drink, so.
I barely ever drink too, honestly.
But it's this hyper focusing on, like, we don't need queers that I guess it's okay to say queer because she said it. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice.
Now
Like
remember,
what is a queer voice?
it's only okay to say queer if you're supporting the LGBT community actively. The only time it's okay, I think.
I support people in being whatever they want to be as long as I don't have to pay for it. That's really my limit, is not having to pay for it. But I do think that this politicization of your sexuality and your race, I think it honestly holds these people back from actually moving forward.
Yeah,
Because
I
it
honestly
just
think if the transgender community wants to be fully accepted, I think that the best thing they could do is hold more drag shows. Like, honestly, like that's the single best thing they could do, because exposing people to them and showing it's like, no, we're not crazies. That's the best thing you could do.
well, yeah, it's just be transgender in public.
Yeah,
Like,
just be transgender. Like, it doesn't need to be this giant
that's it.
thing. Yeah, like this is not some civil rights thing. You don't have to take it to this degree. We're not talking about Jim Crow anymore. We're talking about some people are weirded out by trans people. The only thing you can really do about that is exposure. That's it. Going any further is going
Well,
to cause a backlash. Seriously.
I do think it's a little weird, but it's not my life, so I don't care.
I've had too many trans
I do
roommates at this
draw
point to call it weird. Like, I'm used to it.
I do draw the line at trans children. That is
Yeah, that's
not
ridiculous.
a cool thing. Like, grow up, get your hormones straight, whatever. Then if you still want to be trans at that point, hey man, go for it. You're an adult, you can understand the ramifications of your decisions.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So the squad was then asked, because this happened, this hijacked the news cycle, so it didn't cover, like what you said, Trump. What did he do with
He
immigration? Like,
he
they can't.
basically cut off asylum to pretty much anyone that's not Mexican or Canadian.
Okay, so he cut asylum. Well, that's the UN. That's what the UN says, is that you're supposed to seek asylum in the nearest non
Well, yeah,
threatening
he's just
country, I
adhering to
guess.
that. Like, it's a sensible. Like, to me, it's a sensible approach.
Well, right. Just because you're seeking asylum doesn't mean you get to go wherever you want. It's just
Right,
you get to go where it's safe, even if you don't
right.
like it
You're
there.
supposed to be a refugee. Like, you're not supposed to be like If you're running from war and famine and abuse and like all this stuff, you're not supposed to be shopping around for like the best place. You're supposed to be going to the nearest place that can take you and keep you safe, and then stay there for a little bit and then go back. That's the whole point of being a refugee.
Right.
Once it's safe, yeah, you're supposed to go back. Like, I don't understand why we're supposed to take you indefinitely because there was a war at some point, right?
Well, yeah,
Eventually, wars end.
just because you live in a shithole country.
No,
But
bad.
just because bad things are happening in your country doesn't mean you get to leave and go wherever you want. It doesn't
Right.
give you a free pass to go wherever.
It's
Like,
not. Yeah, it's not a plane ticket to wherever the fuck you want to go. So
right.
yeah.
And just because you can get to a country doesn't mean you have the right to be in that country either.
Dude, I should like go to one. I should go to some war torn country and then apply for asylum in fucking Japan. It'd be great.
Japan does sound awesome,
I'm just saying, like I would love to
but
visit, and then eventually I go back to
I don't know.
America.
Well, things in Japan are very. This is going to sound racist, but it's not. Things in Japan are smaller.
Well, I mean that's
Like
true.
there's just not, like, the cars don't have as much room in them. Because
Yeah, well, I mean the average person there is shorter, so yeah, it makes sense.
my boss, well, they have less physical space. But my boss went to Japan, and he said that they rode in a car and they were like crammed in there, like 3 people were crammed in there really tight. But when the company they were there to see was going to take them out after the meeting, like they sent a town car, and it was like an American, like, huge car compared to what they'd been riding around in.
Oh, that must be nice.
But yeah, he said that a lot of the stuff, like they went into like a noodle shop and there was like only a couple stools in them. They were all like really, really close together. So they maximize the amount of space they have. But I still think it'd be really cool to just visit Japan and just check out the culture and everything.
Yeah.
So getting back to the squad, there was, I don't know who it was, some sort of media guy. I think it was Rebel or somebody else. But anyway, they were in Washington and they approached the squad asking them if they would condemn the Antifa terror attack, which is our next story. And they didn't answer the question. Now, part of me can understand this, that you don't want to just answer whatever questions people throw at you while you're walking around the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get the full story before you just come out one way or the other, because you know it's going to be used against you.
True.
But at the same time, like, somebody attacking an ICE facility and throwing fireball, I mean, maybe they didn't know.
It doesn't seem that complicated to condemn.
Right. It doesn't seem like it's like they have no problem doing it. If he were to come up and said, "Do you condemn right-wing terrorists?" they would have been like, "Oh yes, like 100%." But
yeah, no context needed. Yes.
Yeah. Antifa terrorists. Whoa. Like, let's well, they're the good guys. They're like the people who stormed Normandy.
More like stormtroopers. Fuck those guys.
Yeah. Fuck Antifa. Fuck them. Antifa, if you're listening, fuck you.
Fuck you. But yeah, we should probably get into that because we went a little bit long on the fucking squad story.
Well, that's just.
There was a lot. There was surprisingly a lot there. Yeah, surprisingly a lot to talk about with that. For such a simple thing to happen, so much there.
Well, it's so charged too, because Ben Shapiro was saying he understands why Republicans aren't coming out and condemning Trump for this, because they know, because the Democrats and the media have cried wolf too much, and so the Republicans know if they come out and say, "Hey, Trump, that's not good, you should knock it off," that it's going to be used against them. Essentially, like, they're just gun shy about it.
I think the Republicans are maybe too gun shy. I don't think they need to come out and call him racist.
Right.
I don't think they have to go that far. I think they should at least be able to come out and say, "Look, I didn't like those tweets. I think you went too far with it. I don't think the president's racist, but he shouldn't be saying things like that." There's like a old trope associated with that. If he doesn't know that, he knows now. So let's all just move forward. Yeah.
Well, yeah. The Republican, like, I heard Lindsey Graham talking about it, and he said, I think he said something like, he quickly moved past. He's like, "Yeah, it's not the best," and then he quickly moved on. And I probably would have liked a little more.
Something like that's probably their appropriate response, though, because I know they don't want to, for political reasons, like admit that it was bad.
Right.
But at the same time, if you can't say that it was bad, you're going to encourage things like that rally, where everybody's like, "Send her back," and it's like, no, guys, calm down. Not good. That's like, I know that's a bad look is sort of like an old trope, but seriously, like, you do need moderates. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, a chance like that are gonna alienate a bunch of people.
Well, yeah, it even happened to my mother.
Already. Well, yeah, like people who were on the fence and who would either. It might also energize people to vote Democrat, just because they don't like that.
Well, it sort of hit home when because my mother has been sort of on the Trump train for a while, because the economy is good. The other side is acting like a bunch of crazy people. And then she sees stuff like this. It's like, oh, okay. Maybe not. Never mind.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
caused me to think about jumping off the Trump.
Right.
Maybe not jumping off, but like really considering it. And then, like, if the Democrats were to field a super, well, none of the candidates are moderate enough for me, I guess. But maybe I'd vote Libertarian again. Who knows? So if stuff like this continues, then
well,
I'll just start my own political party. Fuck you guys.
Regardless, we should probably talk about the anarchist now. There was a
anarchist Antifa.
For anyone that's not familiar, an Antifa anarchist attempted to firebomb an ICE facility in Tacoma, Texas. He was killed. It was treated as a suicide by cop.
Tacoma, Washington.
Was it? Oh shit. I'm an idiot. Tacoma, Washington. Yeah, you're right. I could have sworn it was Texas.
My backyard, man.
All right, thanks for the correction. Sort of. But yeah,
it could have happened either place.
Yeah. It looks like this was intended to be his like last hurrah. It's being depicted as, at least by the radicals on the left, it's being depicted as like he's a martyr that was trying to save these people. It's like, you're okay, saving them with fire doesn't seem, that seems like the same shit we fucking like criticize America for when they hear that there's oil stores and instantly there just happens to be like fucking missiles pointed at the country from all sides. So weird, right? Like,
we gotta liberate that oil, man.
Exactly. It felt like the same thing where he's just like trying to liberate the fucking migrants by burning them all alive. That seems a little strange. Just saying, bro. Like, for suicide by cop, all you needed was the gun. Just throwing it out there. Yeah, the activist was killed. His name. Oh, never mind. I'm not gonna say his name. Fuck this guy.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
But the Blaze is right to point out that the media has not connected any of this with Antifa. They have not even speculated on this being connected with Antifa. I don't think they've actually said the name Antifa in regards to any of this, which is fucking ridiculous. The man was a prominent member of his...
They call them anti-fascists if they have to mention something, which sounds nicer than Antifa.
Yeah, it does. And it disassociates the two because the people... Anybody talking about anti-fascists says Antifa. If you say anti-fascist instead of Antifa, it makes it sound like you're talking about two different groups.
Well, you can be... Well, anti-fascist sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you and I would both say, I'm anti-fascist, because we both are. Like, I think most people, probably like 99% of Americans, are anti-fascist.
Oh, yeah, I had some jackass try and use that on me, like when I was in a comment section, where it was just like, excuse me, Antifa means anti-fascist, so if you're against them, guess what that makes you? Checkmate. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh yeah,
fucking kill
you
me.
Got owned, dude.
Fucking
got
kill
totally
me.
Owned. You
I
fascist.
hate everything. Please, someone just end it. Maybe I need to go to this ICE facility with a fucking AR-15.
I'm gonna call my.
I'm joking.
I'm gonna get a group together and call it Liberators, and so everything we do is just liberating everything, so it's automatically good because liberty is good.
I'm actually going to.
We'll call ourselves the
anti-bad things. We're the anti-bad things. We're anti-ba.
Anti-bot. Yeah, there we go.
We are anti-bad. And so if you're against us, guess what that makes you? Bad. Because we're the good guys. Get it? We're the good guys. Anti-ba.
Right, it's like...
Oh my god.
Are you like 5? Dude?
Yeah, seriously.
Come on, like...
Someone calls themselves anti-fascist, therefore they can't do anything fascist. It's literally impossible. Duh. Oh my god. It fucking hurts my soul. Anyway. Talking about this more, like... Yeah, this fucking... Like, it's not even like a kid. Because this is something that came up on my Facebook feed, where basically they were talking about the comparison between the guy with the assault smirk that was on the news for months.
The Covington kids.
Yeah, the Covington kids. Or, again, as I prefer to call it, the assault smirker. I had to hear about that shit for months. but someone literally firebombs an ICE facility in connection with a known American terrorist cell, and nobody cares?
Domestic terrorists.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like homegrown domestic American terrorists.
He left a manifesto and everything.
He did.
And used language that's currently being used by Democrats, which isn't really a huge deal for me because
I mean, it happens in every manifesto.
I don't like to attribute the motives of a crazy person to political people, political opponents, unless there's like a super strong direct connection or they're like sort of calling for this thing to happen.
Right.
But he was fucking like, how old was he? He was like
63,
50 or something.
I think he's in his
63 years old. Like, come on, man. Let's just go fucking buy a tiny house on a beach somewhere and smoke pot and enjoy the rest of your life, dude. Don't go throwing Molotov cocktails at a government facility trying to make yourself into a political martyr.
I got to admit, buying a tiny house on the beach and smoking pot for the rest of my life doesn't sound too bad.
Right.
It doesn't.
Sounds pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't smoke pot, so I guess I would just read.
Yeah, whatever. We'll get you some. It'll be great.
Whatever floats your boat, you know?
Let's see. Oh, a friend of the man spoke with the Seattle Times. She believes it was his intent that this end in his own death. So, again, suicide by cop. More of that. Description of him politically should raise eyebrows of anyone living in the state of Washington. It's a familiar one. Oh, so this is like an actual... Oh, this is her quote. Deb Bartley, a friend of asshole McAsselson, for about 20 years, described him as an anarchist and anti-fascist. She believes his attack on the detention center, which was totally anti-fash, bro. She was bashing the shit out of those fash. Was intended to provoke a fatal conflict.
Yeah, she was.
He was ready to end it. I think this was a suicide. But then he was able to kind of do it in a way that spoke to his political beliefs. Firebombing immigrants. I know he went down there knowing he was going to die. Jesus Christ, and they call the Republicans fucking vicious. Jesus Christ. Like, come on. She said he was an anti-fascist. Press refuses to use the word Antifa here. Yeah, he was a member of Antifa. Like, what do you want? I think he was one of the leadership, wasn't he? Oh, he was 69.
Well, I don't know if he was in leadership because I don't think there's any sort of leadership in Antifa. I mean, maybe
there has to be some form of
specific
hierarchy.
Cells have. Well, yeah, but I don't think there's somebody who's like elected the leader. I think it's more organic than that. Whoever is just more naturally charismatic or aggressive is just in charge, I guess. And they just kind of all do whatever everybody else is doing because they're collectivist assholes. But
that's probably more accurate, but yes.
There's something that's always brought up when you're talking about Antifa versus like right wing. Charlottesville always gets brought up.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna die.
It's never gonna die. They're always like, well, Antifa hasn't killed anybody, and there's a big body count on the right. I'm like, no, just because somebody's right wing and kills somebody does not make it right wing terrorist or make the motivation for the murder a political thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Charlottesville, yeah, that was, squarely on the alt-right, and that had to do with political ideology and whatnot. Yeah, like correct. The broken clock got it right. But Antifa hasn't killed anybody, but not for lack of trying. They're just bad at it.
Yeah, that same conversation I had with the other guy that was like, checkmate, they're anti-fascists, it's in the name. I was trying to explain to him that's like, no, dude, you can't go around setting fires. You can't go around flipping cars and then setting them on fire. You can't go around bashing windows, bashing old people, dragging them out of cars, hitting them over the head. This is all like right before the Andy Ngo thing. This conversation was happening. You can't just run around beating the shit out of people and then call yourselves like fucking against violence. And like, I was trying to explain to them, this can kill people. Like the fact that it hasn't so far is a fucking coincidence.
right? It's a miracle,
Yeah,
practically.
I mean, yes, actually. The fact that no one's died up to this point is is shocking in its own way.
Well, and the guy, I don't think he was Antifa, but he was definitely left wing. The guy who shot up the Republican baseball practice,
Hmm.
like he was trying to kill congressmen, but that story just
Was
faded away with
that guy
a couple
Antifa or
days.
was that someone else?
No, I don't think he was Antifa because Antifa, they've been on the scene for a while, but they weren't huge. They were in like Occupy and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
he was just like a Bernie guy. He was a Bernie supporter who just fell in love with the rhetoric and thought that Republicans were actively killing people. And so he, said, well, if they're killing people, I need to go stop them. And he went to the game and asked if they were Republicans. And when someone said yes, then he went over there and started shooting them. Thank God nobody died, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Now, I'm not saying he was Antifa or anything, but he was definitely not a right wing guy.
No. I mean, if we're going to lump all of like the different terror things together, I mean, yeah, that guy is squarely left-wing terror. And that was pretty
Yeah.
bad. I haven't heard about like I don't remember the last time you had a Republican actively targeting a group of Democratic fucking candidates all in one spot, trying to take them all out at one time. Like
We'll
that
target
didn't
them with
happen.
a rifle. Literally target.
Yes, had them in the scope. Yeah, and apparently can't shoot to save their life. I mean, thank God Antifa's fucking useless. Like seriously.
Well, I don't always, because there's a lot of people on the right and probably in the middle who will say, well, Antifa are the real fascists. And I used to think that too. I'm like, yes, they're going around intimidating people, but I don't think that they're fascists necessarily anymore. They're anarchists, and they'll totally tell you that. And in anarchy, if anarchy is your quote unquote, like the form of government in which you live, which is no government, then who actually runs in an anarchy? It's the person who's willing to do the most depraved things to get their way, I guess, and the strong,
Yeah, it's sort of it's like anarchy tends to be the throughput to fascism, or
Right.
at least totalitarianism. Like if you leave
Well,
things all
yeah.
open ended and loosey goosey, eventually someone is going to come in and be like, "Y'all are a bunch of pussies. I'm in charge now."
Well, yeah, you
So
get
yeah.
that, and then you also get the people asking for that too,
Hmm.
because there's so much chaos that they're like, we need order. I am not strong enough to bring an order. Oh, look, here's this guy. He's saying I can establish order. You just gotta, do everything that I say. And they're like, well, I don't like some of the things he says, but fuck it, it's better than living in fear all the time of roaming gangs and black masks lighting things on fire. It
Pretty much.
definitely, anarchy leads to tyranny. Tyranny is a good word. I don't know why we don't use tyranny anymore. Why do we always call everything fascist? Why can't we call people tyrants?
Or tyrannicists.
Tyrannicists. There's tyranny or tyrants.
I kind of just like tyrannicist.
Tyrannicist Rex.
Yeah, I was about to say, it makes me think of the dinosaur.
No. Well, in Latin, I think Rex is king too. So I guess it works on multiple levels.
Hell yeah. Antifa are a bunch of T-Rexes.
They're a bunch of tyrants, man. Anarchic tyrants. I do think anarchy is a form of tyranny. It's the tyranny of, I guess, the strong and the morally objectionable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had to think about it more. I'll be more profound on it later.
Okay.
But
We'll come back to this.
this wasn't the only, I guess, attack on an ICE facility over the last week. There was also a facility in Colorado where I said protesters in quotes. They tore down the American flag and replaced it with the Mexican flag. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, people didn't like
So,
that.
yeah, and I do think, because I did hear something from the people who organized the original protest, and if I remember correctly, she was saying that wasn't us. Like, that's not why we were there. That's not part of what we were doing. These people just came on and started doing this stuff. And so kudos, if she did say that, kudos to her. And it kind of sucks that her protest, her civil liberties got hijacked for this sort of BS. But that is not a good look. It's not tearing down the American flag and then raising. They also put up a Blue Lives Matter flag upside down, which is just a black and white American flag with a blue stripe upside down, and they wrote something like fuck fascism on it or something like that. I don't know. And flew that up too.
I really wish these guys knew what fascism was, because then I might be able to support them. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with the statement fuck fascism, but
I'm not seeing the fascism.
Fascist, it's like
nothing is.
We need some sort of boundaries. If there's no boundaries, then everything is fascism, and then nothing is really fascism at the same time.
Well, yeah, you can't
chaos.
If you can't distinguish what fascism is, what's the point in fighting fascism? Because then you're just fighting everything. Literally everything.
And you are not going to win, but you're going to cause a lot of pain along the way.
Yes.
And a lot of suffering. So,
well, I think this is the kind of thing we've talked about before. I think everyone's familiar that our opinion is fuck Antifa and fuck fascists. This guy's an idiot. And, I can't, it's literally suicide by cops, so don't expect me to feel sorry for him. This is what he wanted, and he got it, so good for him, I guess.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I guess good for him. This is what he wanted, so yeah.
If you want to make a political martyr out of yourself, it's probably better to get arrested as opposed to murdered.
Especially when you do that on purpose.
Well, I think he kind of expected, I think he kind of expected this to be a huge headline, but the Trump squad stuff just sucked up all the headlines and nobody reported on this. So if there is an afterlife and he's looking back on it or looking up at us from hell,
he's like, what the fuck?
What the hell, man? I died and nobody seems to really care except for a couple
of my friends.
Zealot Antifa people in Washington.
Yes,
and on Twitter.
That really how it be, though.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, he was not on the job, so he did not get the House raised from whatever he was making to $15 an hour.
There you go, man.
I'm pretty proud of that one. The House passes a bill to gradually raise the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour. Oh yeah, $15 an hour. House Democrats see it as a major part of the economic platform because they hate the economy. As they contend a strong economy
pretty much
and a roaring stock market have not boosted the working class.
Right.
Man, CNBC is apparently woke. Because that is way too accurate to the situation. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is unlikely to take the bill up, while President Donald Trump has threatened to veto it. I mean, what did they think this was going to do?
Yeah,
He's against $15 an hour because he likes the economy the way it is. Good.
Well, I think they knew it wasn't going to. They knew this wasn't going to pass.
Oh yeah, there was no way they thought this was going to pass.
Even if it somehow passed the Republican Senate, it wouldn't pass the presidency, unless they win both of them. But it's too early for that. So this is just basically a grandstand sort of thing that they passed. I think they passed it. That 6 Democrats opposed it while 3 Republicans supported it. Yeah.
I guarantee that this entire thing is just one. It's basically them pointing out. It's like, look, if you vote us in, we're going to get you the $15 an hour. We did it before. Now we just need the presidency. So yeah, this is literally just a campaign platform for the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
They're not actually doing anything. They just want to have it on the vote so that they can use it as a cudgel.
Right. It's just a political maneuver.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Which frustrates me on multiple levels because the actual idea itself is the dumbest thing. And they should just be actually doing things to help run the country as opposed to making political moves using the system of government. Like that's
Like,
not what it's for.
I don't even hate the idea of raising the minimum wage, but maybe to something more like $10 an hour. Like,
Well,
if we're talking about the minimum wage, like I don't think it should be that much higher. Like it does need to come up, I think, but
zero.
like I don't I don't like the idea of zero for various different reasons, but I don't think that 15 makes sense. Like this, it's literally just a fucking buzzword they threw out, and then they started saying it so often they're like, oh, we actually have to give them literally 15. So yeah, um, it would be asking for the U.S. to eventually make it to $15 an hour by 2025. It would effectively. Oh wait, the index further hikes to median wage growth. Oh, okay, so it would be tying it to inflation, is what it's trying to say, I think. Um, Not necessarily the worst idea, but well, I don't think it ties. I don't think it should tie directly to inflation because that doesn't make sense. But I don't know. 15 by 2025 is just too fast. It's just too fast. It
Well,
would
do
be
you know
it would be one thing if it was like by
anybody?
2040. You know what?
Yeah. Well, do you know anybody that supports $15 minimum wage?
I mean, yes. Like if we're talking about pretty much anyone that makes less than that is gonna look. It's like it is a good thing for people that don't make that much. And not to be rude, but mostly because they're uh not economically educated. They don't
Right.
understand. They don't understand that this would not help them. Like the most that this would do would cut their hours and make it difficult to find a job.
Well,
Like
yeah, or
that's what would
yeah, make
happen.
them unemployed.
Yeah, like if it becomes a problem, employers are just going to start cutting staff. And like also, when you start saying, "I want $15 an hour of wage," the employer is going to come back around and say, "Okay, so we're going to fire that guy. I need you to do the job of two people now. So hope you like that."
Well, yeah,
Also, you have less time because we can't afford to give you the hours anymore. So double the work in half the time. Go.
and and either that or our products are more expensive, or maybe all three.
Probably both. Like it'd probably be the whole kit and caboodle, because the company isn't just going to accept that they're not making money anymore. Like they can't just say, like, and this I think this would affect companies like McDonald's and Walmart and Amazon way less than other companies. Amazon's already made their floor 15, so they're preparing for the hit in the long run anyway. So good for Amazon. This mostly just hurts small business. Like that's really what this
Right.
hurts.
It's gonna hurt the people that are chasing the American dream.
It's going to slow. Well, it's going to slow
That
down growth, and I think it's going to make it much more difficult to grow in the first place. Because I think there's a lot of small businesses that are looking at this and saying, "Okay, I'm going to have to go back to doing everything completely alone because I apparently can't afford to pay anyone."
right,
Uh,
like
like the
dang.
average bakery isn't making $1 million a year. It's making like 50,000. You know, like maybe they can afford to hire
Well,
one person
in
part time.
in profit or in like total sales,
Probably in
because
total
it's two different
sales.
things.
Honestly, probably in total sales. That's probably their output.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, because a lot of people, I don't think people understand, because the Democrats and the Democrats don't help, and politicians don't help, that there's a difference between the amount of money a company brings in versus profits,
hmm,
because they have the amount of money they bring in doesn't deduct the expenditures that they have to make. Like for a bakery, it'd be like
right,
dough and flour and
rent.
sugar and whatnot, rent, electricity,
Yeah, rents. Like utilities are a huge one that people tend to overlook.
and those
Um,
ovens aren't cheap.
nope.
Let me tell you.
And like all of those ovens, they probably got those on a loan, so those probably need to get paid back on a monthly basis. Um, Hopefully that the owner was sensible enough to, put that under the liability of the company as opposed to themselves. Um, because it's entirely possible that if the bakery goes out of business, that they are saddled with a bunch of debt, as opposed to like if it's the company that owns everything, they can bankrupt the company and they can wash their hands a little bit. Not entirely, but much more than if they own it themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of companies out there that basically just would either go out of business because they can't. They're at a growth stage where it's like I can't afford to pay anyone, but I also can't do it all myself. So I guess we're just done. I guess we're just done.
Right.
So yeah, and there's a lot of companies out there like restaurants. You can't do it all yourself. You literally can't. So
Yeah, maybe if you had like a food cart, but even that, you still need you'd probably need a cook and a person to work the
well,
front of the house, especially if you get busy.
well, I mean, if you have something like a food truck, it's a little bit different because you can sort of take it at your own pace, and it can be like one or two guys that are just sort
Well,
of.
yeah, I would think you would need two people because when I worked food service, like the rule is if you touch money, you got to go wash your hands. Well, if you're busy, like that slows you down, and so people aren't going to wait in line while you
True.
go wash your hands up to your elbows every single time you touch money because you have to run back and forth between the grill and taking money.
Right.
So that's lost business. Like,
True.
you're going to lose customers. And
Well, I think in that particular case, if you're doing it by yourself, you could get like basically a heater where like you like prepare the food early. Like there's such a thing as a hot hold where you can
that's true. But the
basically.
food isn't as good.
It's not, but it also depends on how you handle it. It depends on the food type. It depends on how the food is held. If it's
Yeah,
held dry or like moist or
if you're selling hot dogs, you just put them on a roller.
yeah,
Then just use tongs. Like you don't have to touch anything.
yeah. As long as you don't have to touch the actual food, it's not a big deal. Um, but if you
Anyway,
do,
that's kind of getting into the minutia.
yeah. Now we're
Of
just
this of
talking
it.
about how food trucks work.
We're talking about how we're going to open our own liberalist food truck and sell hot dogs.
I mean, that doesn't sound that. I've actually been considering the possibility of opening a food truck. My plan is I'm gonna go to there's a bar up on the north side of town called Little Woodrow's, that is always popping, and I'm like, all right, here's the plan. I'm going to find the absolute cheapest food I can. In this case, a grilled cheese. I'm going to sell it for like $2 a sandwich. I'm just gonna sell a shitload of them. Right,
dude, do it.
That's the plan.
Man. I'm telling you, we have a ton of food carts here in Portland. So,
well, I'm thinking I'm gonna make some calls and see what I can do. Because obviously I'm gonna take out loans because there's the truck, there's the grill, there's probably a hot hold. I would also need a cold hold, for prep work.
Just get a table and a generator, and just get a little hot plate and start making them.
True.
If you don't, you just set up a table out in the parking lot.
Also true.
No, I seem kind of shady, but
I would need to talk to
drunk and hungry.
I would need to talk to the people that actually that run the place to get a little bit of permission. Because they keep a cop there at all times. So if I did try to do that, the cop would have to step in and be like, "Bro, do you have like a license or permission or something?
Do you have a food handler's card? Come on."
I mean, like, he'd be looking at me like, "Are you stupid? What's going on here? Like, come on, man."
That test isn't too hard to take.
No, it's not. I think I actually still have a food handler's permit, but there's actually a few other things I would need. But regardless,
so $15 minimum wage, I think will put people out of business. I work with a couple of guys. They're not, well, they can't be political for legal reasons.
Yeah.
So they don't get a vote because I was talking to him. I'm like, well, why don't you vote for these people? And then he's like, oh, I can't. I'm like, oh, okay. But they always complain. They complain a lot about where we work. And it's just so odd because everybody else there really likes where we work. And so they complain that, all this other stuff. And one of the guys actually, he quit to work somewhere else and then he came back because it was worse than where he wasn't getting enough hours. And trying to explain to these guys, like, if you want to be paid more, then you need to be worth more.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do something more than just bitch about management, because you're bitching about management compounded with your life choices in history, compounded with
A lack of skills.
some of the screw ups that you've made along the way
Yeah.
that have cost the company a bunch of money. They don't hate you guys, but they're not going to give you a giant pay increase, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I get pay increases every year, but my boss makes sure I go get tons of additional training and get certifications.
It's good.
And I almost always agree to do things when asked, like come in on my day off or something like that, or, take over responsibilities when somebody quits, because I know at the end of the year, I can write all that stuff down in my review and say, look at all this kick-ass shit that I did. You should pay me more, because I can always find work somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like reading through some of this information from CNBC, and it's looking like they're actually, now that it's actually coming to the table, it feels like people are being a little more honest about the effect. Because they're pointing out, it's like, yeah, 1.3 million Americans would lose their jobs. It would reduce business income, raise prices, obviously. So, yeah. It's looking like it would. The actual increase rate isn't that bad. It's like $1. It's like $1.10 each year until it hits $15. It's not too bad.
I mean, it wouldn't be. Well, it's all your employees.
I mean,
it wouldn't be
yes,
too bad, but what happens if you have a bad year?
True.
Because you can't always predict the market. If the market continues to be great, like, I'm sure more companies could probably absorb this. But what happens if we have another downturn that's inevitably going to come at some point?
It
Next
would
time
also,
a Democrat gets elected.
yeah, it would also eventually abolish the lower minimum wage for tipped workers, which, all right, well, goodbye restaurants, at least as they currently exist.
Right.
I hope you didn't like having a server, because you won't. Nobody's paying $15 for someone that just runs the food. And I know there's more to it than that. I served for 5 years, but like, the reason that people get tipped at these restaurants is because they're working, right? Like, that's how if the restaurant itself is having to eat all that cost, they're not tipping you. So I hope you really like $15 an hour and you weren't making more than that, especially not significantly more than that.
But tipping's racist, didn't you know?
How the fuck is tipping racist? When did this happen?
Oh, there was an article probably on Vox or something about how tipping was racist, because the slaves, when slavery was abolished in America, black people would work on trains and get tips. Ergo, tips are racist or something. I don't know. It was a dumb idea. I'm sure you could find it.
Jesus, I don't even want to. That sounds mind-numbing. The bill would eliminate a seldom-used pay-filler for teen workers that paid them less than the minimum wage. I hope nobody wanted to get a job before the age of 18, because nobody's paying you guys more. Like, you literally don't have any skills. It's literally your first job. It would also toss out sub-minimum wages for workers with disabilities. Not necessarily the worst idea, but I feel like that's going to backfire in some way they're not predicting.
Well, I mean, I think they offer that as a way to say, like, hire these people, because they can't. Because, like, if you're looking at skills and abilities, somebody with a disability is inherently, I guess, not going to be as great as somebody who is able-bodied. Like, you're not going to you're not going to hire a person in a wheelchair to lift boxes up onto the top shelf.
Yeah,
because you have to make more accommodations for it. And I'm not saying that there would be a bad worker or anything. It's just physically they're not capable of doing that.
Right, there's certain limitations. So I don't think it's necessarily the worst idea to pay people evenly, even if they have a disability, if you're going to hire them. But like, I feel like that's just going to result in people with disabilities just not getting hired.
Right. I think there needs to be. I think that this is an incentive to hire people with disabilities. And when I think of somebody with a disability, I think of somebody who's pretty. I usually
Well,
think of somebody who's severely disabled, and they usually have some sort of government assistance,
well, I
but they
think
don't want to just be useless. They want to work.
typically speaking, I think these laws mostly apply to people with learning disabilities, like Down syndrome. I think that's typically how
Right.
this ends up getting used, because those people have a hard time finding work. It's true. They also usually, like you said, are on some sort of assistance. Um, but I
Right,
mean,
as they should be.
yeah, exactly. And that I think this is mostly for them. I'm just like, I don't know, because there's already a stigma when it comes to people with disabilities, where people refer to them as walking lawsuits. Um, this doesn't exactly help that. So I don't know. Like I think the sentiment isn't. I think their heart's in the right place with that one, but I don't think that's going to work out the way they think it is.
Right. Well, I think they believe that this will do good. I think there are a lot of people who believe that $15 minimum wage will do good, but they don't understand that it'll probably cause more harm in the long run. They think, well, everyone will get a pay increase. What's assuming everybody still stays employed?
Yeah, yeah. That's sort of the problem that you run into. Is like, yeah, okay, if you're anywhere near the middle class, this is great for you because it basically guarantees that you've got a certain floor to work with. Anyone with experience is probably fine with because you've got a certain floor of experience to work with. If you're a new entry into the market, good luck. If you have like bad skills, good luck. If there's anything wrong with you in a situation where they have to pay a bunch for you, just good luck.
Well, I wonder how would people coming out because how would people coming out of college view this? I mean, probably favorably, but
Probably.
you don't have any skills, and your college degree, while great, is now a dime a dozen because of government assistant federal loans for education. And now you have all these loans, and then there won't be any jobs because the skills that you possess
Are useless.
are not, yeah, they're not worth the $15 at this time. Like you haven't, just because you have an education doesn't mean you have the skills necessary to perform job duties. Like there's going to be additional training, and why would they hire you when this guy over here has been doing it for 10 years and we can hire him and he just fit right in. We can keep going. So it just feels to me like it would compound the problem of student loan debt even further, because you
True.
took out all this debt. Now you don't have any skills. You have a lot of education, but no skills. Nobody's going to want to hire you. I mean, trade schools are going to be popping, man.
Unfortunately, I think there's a pretty severe tip. Sorry, there's a pretty severe bias against trade schools because people view it as like low class, which is unfortunate. Because
I wish I would have freaking became a welder, man. I'd be making like $30 an hour or some shit.
right, but
So go to college. You'll be rich, they said.
yeah, honestly, it's the blue collar guys because it's hard to automate their shit. Like those guys are
Well,
the
yeah,
ones that are making the money. They're the ones that are kind of moving up in the world, and all the people that look down on them were like, "No, I'm going to college. I'm not getting myself dirty, dirty bastards, you
well, yeah, it's
unintelligent, dirty bastards." And guess what? It went back around from the nerds running everything to yeah, the jockin that just went to the trade school because he didn't think he could do anything else. He's doing great, and you're an idiot.
right. Like they're skills. These are skills.
Yes, yes, they are.
Like people who can fix a car, like
Mm-hmm.
in America, like almost everybody over the age of 18 drives a car. And even if they don't, they ride a bus, and mechanics fix buses. So there's always
Oh,
work for them. So they're always in demand. If you have a friend who's a mechanic, they're like your best friend, man.
yeah,
You'll pay
seriously.
them that they'll, and if they're a hard, like I know a guy, one of my parents' friends who's a mechanic, and he works 40 hours at his job. Well, he gets paid by the, he gets paid by the hours assigned to whatever it is he's fixing. And so if it's something that he can fix in 20 minutes, but the allotted time for that job is 4 hours, he still gets paid for 4 hours, even if he does all the work in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes home and he lives out in the country. So he's got like a farm with a bunch of mechanic equipment in there, and he fixes people's cars on the side for like cash. So he's just making money hand over fist and, living the dream, I guess. But
Yeah.
he's got like a valuable skill, but he's not somebody you're going to see in like an ivory tower, or he's not going to write any books on philosophy or anything like that. But
oh no, I definitely belong more in the ivory tower than I do in a car shop. But I can also recognize that most of the people there are a bunch of cunts. So
right,
yeah.
I went to college, so yeah.
It's not all of them. I've met some really cool people in like the academic settings. Like some of the coolest people you're going to meet are going to be there, but it's also the same thing you could say for like the average person. If you talk to enough people, you're going to meet people you like. It's just the way it is. Yeah, I'm planning on doing college backwards, where I'm gonna get my IT certifications. I'm gonna start looking around for a job, and then like throwing out fishing lines that way. And then I'm probably gonna go back and get a degree, maybe in computer science, maybe in some sort of like computer engineering, something like that.
Cool.
So that I'm like I'm actually adding to my skill, as opposed to like getting a degree and then saying, all right, it's time to go get a skill. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. And the advice I got, because it was applicable to my parents' generation, and they're the ones who gave me the advice, was go to like, if you have a degree, you're just going to find a job easy.
Yes.
And that was true for my parents' generation.
It is. It's like, I understand it, but nowadays that's terrible advice.
Well, yeah, and other people said, well, just find something that you really like, and you'll find a way to get paid to do it.
Yeah, no.
Also,
wrong.
Not the best advice.
It's closer.
Well, yeah, but so I was like, well, I really like to read and I really like to write English. And so everyone's like, you're going to be an English teacher, right? And I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to teach anybody anything. So I got a degree in English, and I've never used it since. Oh, that's not necessarily true. It did teach me like how to write, though.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There is value in, like, there's value in these degrees. It's just, it's sort of pearls before swine when it comes to teaching a whole bunch of 18-year-olds. Like, there's valuable things there, but like when you're 18, you don't understand how to evaluate what's being put in front of you. Like, you don't understand the value of an engineering degree versus a finance degree versus a feminist dance study degree. Like, they don't understand, and that's very evident.
Well, it's like giving gold to a starving person.
Yeah,
like
doesn't really do much.
He would much rather have a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread, he'll give you all of his gold for that loaf of bread. Like, he doesn't care. He can't eat the gold.
Right.
Like, an education has value, but if you're, doesn't matter how smart you are, you can still starve to death.
Yeah. You can still be a useless, resentful cunt that spent $100,000 on a degree that you can't use because you don't actually know how to do anything. Like, you learned some high-level skills, but if you don't learn the connecting skills in between, those high-level skills don't mean shit. They just don't. You need to be able to apply them on a lower level first.
Well, and with loans so available to people,
oh god, don't even
like
start
a college
on loans.
degree.
Yeah,
a college degree isn't worth what it used to be.
No, it is not. Like, it is not worth $100,000 anymore. It's just not.
Well, yeah, and the price is going up because the loans are so easy to get, and so demand's going up, and so they're like, well, we can charge more for this, and people will pay it, so they'll do it.
Yep.
That's just how the market works. Like, the value a degree used to have was because it was scarce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why education led people to getting, good jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And college college isn't mostly nowadays. I don't feel like it. Maybe in the past this was true too, but it wasn't really for like you didn't make money. You didn't start earning a ton of money out of college because of your education, but because of the connections you made while in college.
Yes.
Like
Also true.
all the wealthy people and families send their kids to college, and so you make those connections. But you can't get those connections at the local community college necessarily.
True.
So if you go to like a Harvard, sure, you can get, the right connections and probably get a great job coming out. But
Oh yeah, if you go to Harvard, you're basically set. Like, even if
right,
you do get some bullshit degree, you're probably set.
you just got to graduate.
Yeah. A Harvard graduation is actually worth something. But most of these other colleges, not really. Like, honestly, a lot of the stuff you learn in college is like interesting things or hobbyist things or like cool ways to think about the world, teach you about ethics and philosophy, and that's all great and that's valuable for an adult. Not for some kid fresh out of high school that's just there because their fucking mom told them to. You know? Like,
Right.
the
Like you
value's
should
just
be
not
out.
there.
There's more value when you're younger in going out and having an adventure as opposed to sitting in a classroom reading about other people having adventures, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it was my kids, I honestly would be like, no, don't worry about college. We will figure that out somewhere down the line. Go get some certifications. Go find a trade school. Go apply at the Electricians Brotherhood. Get them to train you. Like, get a skill. Like, you need to teach. Like, what you need to learn is how to get someone to give you their money. And I don't mean stealing it from them, and I don't mean tricking them out of it. I mean convincing them that something you do is worth their money.
Provide them a service that they want.
Yes.
Well, I think I will. I mean, I'll tell my children that go to college. Like, if you're going to go to college, go for something that you want to do.
We'll go with a
Something that
plan.
yeah, because I think I would have gotten eminently more value out of my degree if I had gone, I don't know, like probably 7 years after I graduated high school, like a lot later, because like I reread some of my uh, writing from that time, and the main thing that I was focused on when I was in college was just meeting chicks, man. That was all I wanted to do. I was 18.
Yeah,
Like
I get it.
after my high school girlfriend and I broke up, I was probably like 20. And so after that, it was like, game on, man. I'm almost old enough to go out to the bars, uh, get my degree. I want to move out of my parents' house soon. Like, I want to meet chicks. Like, that's all I wanted to do. And so I didn't take advantage of the education in front of me because it wasn't as important to me at the time as meeting chicks. Now it sounds kind of shallow, but
You're
that's
18.
what
What do you
young
want?
guy.
Yeah.
Right. That's what young guys want to do.
Yeah.
Especially in our culture, it's like they want to go out and I wanted to go out and have fun, like do something exciting, like have an adventure, like not necessarily break the law, but like maybe get in trouble, like not hurt anybody or anything, but
Oh shit, Cody was a bad boy.
right, like not really because I was fucking in college, man. I wasn't, but I think there would have been more value because now I'm like desperately searching around for all the things that I would have learned in college. Like I'm watching YouTube videos of college lectures for crying out loud, and like I'm endlessly fascinated by them because I'm married. I went out and I got myself I got myself a chick, I don't need to do that anymore. That's taken care of. And now I'm like, whoa, like Aristotle sounds really interesting. I want to know more about him, but my college days are over, man. It's not something I'm going to go do again. So I think if you want to survive, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour is going to hurt a lot more people than it's going to help. even if you think that's what everybody should be paid.
True.
I don't think the market can bear it, honestly.
I tend to agree. But I think we should go ahead and pull it down there because it is getting close to 11 and I need to get back to work soon.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. This is the weekly wrap with Cody and Jordan. And remember to like, subscribe, and share because YouTube's not going to do it for us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.